Slovakia Untold is a podcast brought to you by Slovakia Travel and Zulf Hayat Khan. Okay, so after a brief hiatus, Slovakia Untold returns for its first episode of 2025, and I'm delighted to be joined by Rado Rančík, 8 times a Slovak National Basketball Player of the Year, with a storied career that's taken you from the US to Croatia, France, Italy, Turkey, Ukraine. Did I forget any?
Czech Republic.
Of course, Czech Republic, France. Okay, so Rado, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So my role here, and as part of my commitment to Slovakia Travel, is to promote the country through English language. And I try and bring people along to my podcast that have interesting stories. Now, of course, I met you because our children go to school together, and it's very hard to miss you at 6'8". You're very visible. But I want to try and tie in the idea of Slovakia, its development. Your story is a very interesting one. And one of the first things I noticed when I met you is that you speak with an American accent.
Correct.
So how did that come about?
Well, when I was 15 years old, a friend of our family from US knew the coach at the high school where my brother and I went to. And of course, I spoke no English. Well, I spoke a little because I had some English classes in high school, but they talked with the coach, and coach says, okay, bring him on. So my brother first came to the States. High school, he was a phenom, played great basketball, got recruited by all major universities, chose, Iowa State University. Went there, almost made it to the NBA, played, had an amazing professional career in basketball, and then now he's the coach for the Chicago Bulls and one of the assistants. And then my brother told the coach, "Is I have a little brother." It's like, well,
little in age, not in height.
Well, let's try him out, right? So I came to States, and didn't have quite as much of success my first year as a high school player, but then I stayed over summer, worked out really hard, played American football, which helped me with my physicality because that was my biggest problem my junior year. And then senior year took off. Got 5 offers for full ride scholarship at the university, chose St. Cloud State University, and the rest is history.
Well, it's a story that, I'm sure kids around Slovakia who are aspiring athletes kind of dream of, right? You had the family connection, and there was the intro to America, but it's the idea of making the American dream, right?
Right.
When you first moved there, what was, the cultural shock? 15 years old, let's be honest, Slovakia is quite provincial at the best. You moved to the States. Now you've worked out American football, by the way. I'm obsessed with the movie Draft Day. Have you seen that?
Yes, of course.
That film is phenomenal. Kevin Costner is absolutely
phenomenal.
Phenomenal movie. I love the draft. I've been to the NBA draft. Okay. I've never been to the NFL. The NFL draft. I've never been to the NBA draft. American sports is a pathway to success and riches that perhaps Europeans can't really understand unless you play professional football, soccer for the Yanks. Were you destined as a kid here in Slovakia to pursue a career? Obviously your physical attributes are there, but had basketball always been the idea?
Well, I knew I was going to be a professional basketball player from very young age. My father played team handball and was a national team player. Mm-hmm. So we had the professionalism in the family. My mom still plays basketball. She's 72 years old and plays weekly basketball with
Babka basketball.
Yeah. And so we had sports in the family all along. And once my brother and I saw Michael Jordan and the Dream Team and the U.S. national, the dream became something that got stuck in our head, and we never let it go. So we chased that dream from a very, very young age. And because of the background of my parents, we were capable of keeping the dream through the hard times and the hardships that came before we reached the dream, where the things that set us up for success.
I hear the mentor in the voice.
Yeah. It kind of is, because it's the truth. And my mentorship comes from my experiences through what I lived and the hardships that I had to go through. that really make something special in anybody's life. And whether or not I was predestined, probably not, but I put in a lot of work to
Yeah.
make it true.
So it's what did Michael Jordan say? Well, everybody says it's 10% talent and then 90%
Oh, yeah.
graft, right?
Effort.
You see Lindsey Vonn coming back at 39 years
Yeah.
old is just extraordinary. It's commitment. Elite athletes have a different mindset, elite athlete mindset.
Yes, correct.
And you can't sell that.
No, you can't. You can't. I mean, it's something that can be learned.
Yeah.
But you got to be willing to put a lot of things to the side, you know.
So a young boy in Slovakia prior to 15, what was the coaching setup like here? What are the things that perhaps set you up? I know you have this ingrained work ethic. I can see it in you and I can hear it in your voice. And obviously you're involved as a commentator and a mentor, and you're helping Slovak sport now, and you're an asset to the country. But in terms of the setup here, coaching at that stage and the infrastructure in Slovakia, when you were young, was it at 14, 13? What was it like growing up? You mentioned hardships.
I mean, it was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough. You know, that Russian style or Yugoslavian style of coaching, coaches doing a lot of yelling, you know, but what I loved about that part is even when we didn't play well and I looked at my parents and my parents just said, "Why are you looking at me? That's your coach. Listen to him."
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, there were times where I didn't agree with the coach but I had no choice, you know. And I think what they taught us, the coaches, that even when they're tough, they're
doing it for you.
Yeah,
It's
they're
for your
essentially
benefit.
essentially it's all about benefiting you. You going through the hard times in practice, so the games are easy.
Yeah.
You know, and
so you do the training. The hard work is Monday to Friday, and Saturday's the show off.
Exactly.
That's what I tell my kids. Yeah.
And it's always been that way, even in professional basketball. I mean, nobody sees the hours that you put in. They only see what you're capable of during game day, but you got to put in a lot more work in the off week.
I'll come back a little bit later to talk about what the situation currently is in the sports world. But fast forward now to your time in college, and you had a ride on the scholarship and stuff. The Americans' mindset compared to Slovak mindset is poles apart, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
how did you adapt then to a completely different way of thinking?
I've been told, I was told by many people that you got to work hard, and I realized it very early that it's the truth. That I have 1,000 guys behind me ready to take my job if I don't put in the work, and then if I don't show up every single day in practice, they're gonna eat you alive. I mean, if you want to be a wolf or you know or run with the wolves, you can't be a chicken. So I mean, you know, you gotta
man up.
Yeah, you gotta adjust your mentality.
I don't know if I can say that in 2025 with all the pronouns and genders.
You can say it. I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Man up.
Yes, exactly. So in order to become a wolf, you got to start acting like a wolf, and that's what happened. And big part of that played American football, because I played with those guys for a year. I didn't know what I was doing. The coach was on my ass. And
what linebacker? What position did you?
I played tight end.
You played tight end.
Yes, I played tight end. At first, I played
I always
defensive.
find that slightly funny to hear.
Yeah,
tight end.
I was a defensive end at first, but then the coach saw that I could catch the ball, so he decided to make me a tight end. But yeah, the physicality was something completely different that I'd never experienced before, and it helped me quite a bit in basketball.
Did you think about going pro in American football, or basketball was always the end goal?
No, I mean, although I did have some scholarship offers for football, but basketball was always my thing. My mother plays basketball, so you know, it's just kind of natural for me to go into that field.
Do you think you could have been drafted NFL?
I mean, anything is possible. I didn't have much experience. I had one year of football in me, and people came to, or people came and were willing to give me a scholarship. So I must have had something, but that's history.
I mean, elite sport in American, for people who don't understand, is that the cost of education and universities in America is exceptionally high compared to Europe, and to hundreds of thousands, and people actually spend their life paying off their debts at American university. So a scholarship is a substantial thing to achieve, and you know, you have to pay it back, right?
Right.
And so you have to perform on the court,
Yep.
and you have to deliver over there, and then you've got constant pressure on you that you know that you're here because of one unique talent. You might be a smart chap, and that might be good, and all of that thing, but essentially you're there because you have to perform on game day, right?
Yes and no.
Hmm.
Depending on how you act off court. That's
Okay,
very
so
important.
behavior,
Behavior is
demeanor.
extremely important. Universities are more willing to cut you a break
Mhm.
if you're a stand-up person, if
Yeah.
you're a stand-up student. And you know, we're people, we're not robots. We're not going to play 100% every single game. But
Yeah.
if you have all your other business in order,
Yeah.
then you know they're gonna cut you slack more than anything. And I think that's what I've learned is, and I realized that being a good student makes me a good basketball player.
Yeah.
Intelligence off court transfers into intelligence on court.
I think that's 100% true.
And because if you are not a smart athlete, if you don't pay attention to school, then your decision making process and the quickness of your decisions become slower than what it could be. You are capable of understanding and resolving situations on the court much quickly and more efficiently.
So smart player off court, smart player on court, and I guess that also then helps affect your business decisions later on as
Of
well.
course.
So fast forward now to the draft, 2002, was it?
Yes.
You were not picked in the
No,
draft.
no,
Did
I
you
wasn't.
expect to be picked?
No, no. I worked out with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Kevin McHale from the Celtics
Yeah.
was the GM at the time, and
Very
you know,
pale gentleman.
yes, he liked.
He looks like he needs a holiday the whole time.
Yes, true, but very good basketball
Yeah.
player nonetheless.
He was a cohort of Larry Bird in those championship winning years for the Boston Celtics, right?
Correct, correct. So they told me they liked the way I play, but I need more experience, which I understood. And then once I started playing professionally, I went to Treviso Summer League, excuse me, Big Man Summer League, and they were giving out one award throughout that camp for Big Man organized by Dallas Mavericks. Mr. Intensity, which I received. Then I got an invite to their summer league.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, at the time, I was playing playoffs in France, and me being me, I saw a bigger chance, and I realized it quickly that the reality of my professional career is going to take place in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want to give myself a bad name where an opportunity arrives that might be a little shinier, and I'll take it
Yeah.
rather than sticking to my word
Yeah.
and the signature that I put on the contract and finishing off that contract 100% and then moving on to something else. So I chose to stay for the playoffs in France and never had the chance to play in the NBA afterwards.
Did you think at that point that you might have had another shot at NBA?
No.
No.
I
So-
mean, I just took it as for what it was.
So
I
you were
was-
pragmatic and practical about
Yes,
that start.
yes. I mean, it could have been, but I mean, coulda, shoulda, woulda. 16 years of professional basketball is not bad either.
Yeah, as I mentioned, 8 times Slovak basketball player of the year, and you've got to travel the world and enjoy all of those experiences.
Exactly.
European basketball, FIBA, the organization, the speed now has improved dramatically. And you see now the MVP in the NBA is a European, and triple doubles left, right, and center. He's a phenom.
Yes.
And to compete at that level as Jokic is just from another planet.
Correct.
But at the time when you were playing, there was a gulf.
Yes.
I mean, Croatia had always been good. Spain had always been around. Barcelona, Real Madrid had always been competitive. Did you feel that the financial incentives in Europe were better, or were not? Or you made a point very much about your word being your bond.
Right.
This is me. This is who I am. I will honor my contracts, and I won't go just for the top dollar. But did you feel that having spent all that time in the US, the money in Europe was substantially less?
Yeah, of course it was substantially less, but then again, I mean, it's still good money. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't start at good money. I started probably at like 3,500 a month, which was nothing.
Yeah.
But I built myself up to a very good salary, and I can't regret it. But you know, and again, a lot of that goes because of the attitude that I had. I was a really hardworking guy. I didn't have much talent, but I worked my butt off throughout my whole career, and I think that was one of the main reasons. I wasn't a problem guy. I was always on time, always whatever was expected of me off court. That's what I did, and that's what professionalism is all about. And I understood that very quickly, and because of that, I think the financial reward grew from year to year, on and I reached a level where a lot of guys don't get to go.
Yeah, and so talking of money, we won't talk numbers because that's very gauche, and I'm British, and it's not nice to talk about money.
Okay.
But in terms of contracts, I know you mentioned that you went to Mariupol for a couple of years in
Yeah.
Ukraine, and that was well reimbursed. To
Yes.
put it to the, in terms of your decision making processes, you're a family man. You wanted to set up a future for your life. Where were the incentives lying?
Well, obviously, the cultures that I've played in, Italy was an easy choice. When that offer came from Treviso, it was just like, okay, let's go.
Yeah,
Because
and
that's
it's a
just
beautiful place to live in.
beautiful place near Venice, very quiet town, easy to live. Then going to Istanbul to play for Galatasaray, that was always an easy decision from a basketball standpoint, because the fans. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh,
they're fanatic.
yeah, you play against Fenerbahce, you have 14,500 people in the gym going nuts, an hour and a half before the game, an hour and a half after the game. So, I mean, it's an easy choice. The money was good. The city was ridiculously awesome. And I spent 2 years there. And then afterwards, I got to go to Mariupol in Ukraine for a year. And yeah, I'm not going to lie. That was a pure business decision.
Sure.
10 months of hard grind. My wife came for 3 weeks, and after 3 weeks, after 2 weeks, she's like, I want to go home. So we got an early ticket out for her, and I just, out of 10 months in Mariupol, I was 5 on the road, so it wasn't too bad. And then afterwards, I was just like, okay,
And of course, you played a lot
plenty.
in the Czech Republic,
Yes.
and won lots of titles in the Czech Republic as
Yes.
well. Fast forward to your national career.
Right.
Slovak basketball is not something that we read about terribly. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. There are European countries that you read about that outside of the US and so forth. I mean, to me, basketball is always the domain of the United States.
Right.
And then there's a lot of competitive Europeans. Recently at the Olympics, I saw that the gap is closing.
Yeah.
And the French look really, really good in that fight. Wemby is also another phenomenon. I don't know, his arms are about 17 foot wide. I mean, the guy's and bendy and very versatile. I see the game. Everybody's catching up, and I don't know if that's about finance. I don't know if that's about rewards. I don't know if that's about infrastructure. But your time with the national team, give me an idea of how that was representing your country. It must have been a source of great pride.
It was. It really was. I mean, there was a period where, if the call came from the national team, there was nothing that's going to stop me.
Yeah.
I mean, I played.
Are you more proud playing for your country than you were for playing for your clubs?
I don't want to say.
Yes, he does.
I don't want to say it was either one way or the other. I was always proud to be on the court and represent whoever I was going to represent. And obviously, having the Slovakian flag on your chest brings a little bit more of pride. But
Man, this is your roots, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's special. It's special, but again.
But then if you break your leg, it's your club that rehabs you.
Exactly.
So,
but
maybe a lot of people don't understand that when you're registered with a club, there's always conflict between club and country. It happens in every sport that you're actually a registered player for a club, which is why there were issues with the NBA releasing players for Olympics and national events, because the liability of an injury to LeBron James is huge.
Yes.
If you get injured playing for your country, then the Lakers have to pick up the tab for the rehab. And maybe in his case, there'd be some
insurance, most of the time.
but essentially you belong to your club. I know even the Bosman ruling helped change a lot of that for football. But there is this conflict between club and country. But this is where you're born. This is the badge that you wear. If you give me the choice, if someone said, would you... I'm not going to tell you who I support in football, but if someone gave me the opportunity to wear the red rose of England and rugby, or play for Saracens, which is a local team in London, I would choose England every time. I would bleed for my country.
And I would too. I mean, I'm not
sure
going to
you
say,
did.
And I did. But for me, approaching basketball in the way that I approached it, I approached every single game with pride, whether it was national team or it was just on a club level or it was a friendly game. I approached every single game in the same way. Yeah, did the flag on my chest give me a little bit
A
more?
little pep in your step.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd
When
lie
you
if I
hear that
didn't.
anthem,
Yeah, I mean that's special.
you
That's
hear that
special.
anthem,
Yeah.
even though there's a new one now, but you hear that anthem and
Yeah.
you're looking out and
I mean,
and then there's
you think about, I didn't play in the game, but we played Spain on the National Hockey Stadium, which we sold out 10,048 people were at the game, and listening to the national team and knowing that I left a footprint for these guys to follow in a way.
it means something. I can
Yeah,
see it.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it meant a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
and especially sitting next to Jorge Garbajosa, who is the president of FIBA Europe and a legend in Spanish and international basketball, and sitting next to him and him telling me this is amazing. Yeah, yeah, I felt pride.
Okay, so now we get to the stage where your career as an athlete comes to an end. And I understand from the psychology of an athlete's mindset that it's almost like mourning a loss, like someone's died in your family, because there's that get up every day, your motivation. You have to train, you get on the court, you have to do your drills, you go to the gym, you have your routine. And this is all being prescribed for you from the age of 15 all the way to 38, or however it was when you stopped playing. That's 23 years of a relationship that has come to an end and it's gone.
Yes.
How does an elite athlete then deal with the loss? Again, a loss, it's a death.
It's tough. It's one of the toughest things that I had to go through in my life.
And of course, the real
and I've
pain on the
gone-
family.
Yeah, and I've gone through a lot of tough times. But once I learned the decision from the club that they don't want to continue, and I wanted to stay in Bratislava, I didn't want to go anywhere else because of my family. My wife found a job. My little one started going to kindergarten. I was just like, okay, this is it. This is over. And for 6 months,
Were you grumpy?
for the first 3 days after. And then I realized that Inter Bratislava, who I played for here, they gave me the opportunity to finish my career in my home city, in front of my family, my friends, and being able to stay at home in my own place and at the salary that I had here. I mean, what am I gonna complain about? No,
Yeah.
they gave me the opportunity of a lifetime to finish in a way that I could have only dreamed of. So
You went out the way you wanted to.
yes. Well, not completely, but yes,
Yeah.
more or less. So I realized that okay, this is okay. This is the way it should be. I'm old enough to be done. Did I have a couple of years in me? Probably.
Yeah.
Could it have ended in a bad injury? Probably.
Hmm.
But then I fortunately I had good friends around me, and one of my good friends from Group V4, Peter Sabol, took me under his wings, mentored me, showed me the ropes of business, and started working on export import with him, and went into business with him, and opened up a whole scale of possibilities, and I didn't realize that I had, and then
So a second chapter
yeah.
opened up.
Yeah, so I retired in one job, and now I'm working so I can retire the second time in my whole entire
Yeah,
life.
I'm looking forward to the day I retire too. But our children go to school together, so I probably won't have the luxury to retire at any time soon.
Correct.
But what I'm interested in, and I've spoken to lots of athletes in my life, and it's interesting to see the ones that succeed in business are the ones that had the same positive mindset and that drive, that routine, that built-in idea that you have to commit 100% to everything that you do. You'll get the results that you deal. So now, in terms of commentary and in terms of mentorship, in terms of coaching, how do you give back to the sport of basketball in Slovakia?
Well, I'm working on a project where this is exactly what I want to do is I want to set up the sports culture, the sports mentality of all the athletes, and it's just basketball players, in a way where I know they'll be successful. If they're not successful in sport, they'll be successful as people. Because you can't make only determination to become a good athlete. You have to become or give dedication to become a better person.
Yeah.
And that goes hand in hand. So once you understand that by learning and by being truthful, by giving something 100%, you give yourself a better chance of succeeding. It might not be the success that you think
Yeah.
it is going to be, but it'll be successful for not only yourself, but your family, the society, the people around you. So to better yourself and to understand that it's life is more than just sports. Even though you're
Not
given
in my house. This weekend, the rugby starts.
even though you're given it everything that you got, there's more to it. And I'm very, very, very glad that after my career, I got to experience that part of life. And hopefully, the project that I'm preparing through webinars regarding all types of topics that have to deal with professionalism and professional sports will reach more and more kids that and go forward with it and
Mm.
hopefully set up a better culture.
That sounds fascinating, and something I'll watch closely, and please keep me up to date with those developments. My kid's an athlete here, and both of them are athletes in their own right. And some of the infrastructure needs a little bit of an iOS reboot, a little
Yeah,
bit of an update.
yeah,
I think the coaching when you were a kid was of a high level because at that time is what the world needed to make things the way they were.
yeah. And parents didn't get involved at that time.
And there's
Parents
too
were on the
much
side.
helikoptervad now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, now it's just parents need to
Take a
shut up
to take a step.
sit in the stands, cheer your kids up. That's it. Don't get involved with the coaching. If you want to be a coach, become a coach and then coach the kids. Don't get involved from the stands.
Okay, so I've got a few silly questions I'm going to ask you now.
Go ahead.
So, commentary or mentoring, which do you prefer?
That's tough, man. That's tough.
Hey.
Oh, I can't even say one or the other. It's tough, man. It's like I love both.
Yeah, but gun at your head, commentary or I'm going to ask him which is if he has a preferred child. No.
Mentoring.
Okay, you're going to go. Ah, that's the hippie answer.
I mean, you put a gun to
Yeah,
my head.
It's okay, so you've gone with that. Of all the cities that you played in, Treviso, Galatasaray, which was your favorite place?
Istanbul.
Istanbul, yeah.
Yes.
What was your stupidest purchase? What was your most lavish purchase? What was the thing that you spent the most amount of money on?
Probably like a Louis bag or something.
So a Louis Vuitton
Yeah,
bag, a little
yeah.
bit of bling,
Yes.
a little bit of bling.
Still have it.
Yeah, you still have it.
Yes.
Did you regret it? It sits in the back or
No, I pull it out for my wife.
You never bought like a silly car or you never a Ferrari or anything like
No,
that?
no.
So
I was smart with my money.
So you were smart. Well, there you go. What was the biggest regret of your playing career?
I mean, there's another tough decision. Gosh,
Because you seem like,
maybe I know I said that I realized early on that my career is probably going to be in Europe.
Mhm.
And I
Part of
look-
you-
part of me
sti-
still regrets that I didn't try the summer league
Yeah.
and just didn't do something for myself rather than um, choosing to be a stand-up guy and be true to my bond.
So you could have been a little bit more mercenary,
Yes.
and you might have had a few more Louis Vuitton bags.
Although I was a menace on the court, so
Yeah.
I
You made up for it.
oh yeah. I mean, you ask any of my teammates, and I was not a very nice person on the court.
Well, it's good to separate church from state, as we say.
True.
So when now bringing the idea of Slovakia in, because I'm promoting Slovakia to the world. When you were on your travels playing in all of these wonderful places, Istanbul, Treviso, France, was it Paris? Where was it in France?
Yes, I was in Paris. I was in Limoges, Bourg-en-Bresse, all types.
How did you bring people back to Slovakia? And what were there? And there must have been people who were curious. There are a lot of ignorance out there, people who don't know where Slovakia is,
Yes.
even in Europe.
Yeah, I got questions whether we did or didn't have washing machines and televisions back when I first started going to the States. But I just told everybody it's one of the most beautiful gems in Europe. It might not be big, but it's full of surprises. I mean, we've got the high touchers. We have castles wherever you can look.
You can't take a pee without seeing a castle here.
Exactly. People they seem like they have hard living, but they're very heart warmth. They have warm hearts, and they will invite you to their house without hesitations to help you out.
I find that too.
And we might be a country that is going through some hardships right now, but I think it's a country that is willing to help out whoever is in need.
Did you bring people from?
Yes, of course.
And what were their impressions?
They loved it.
Yeah, of course.
They
right.
loved it.
What were American people impressions when they came here?
They couldn't believe it. They just said it just seems such a nice and beautiful and peaceful country, and it is peaceful.
Yeah.
But it's just, unfortunately, we've stopped having discussions rather than,
everybody shouting.
Now we have arguments instead of discussing.
100%. Well, Rado, I think we've pretty much covered everything, and I'm so delighted that I have an athlete here on Slovakia Untold, and it's been an absolute honor and a pleasure. I could have had another hour having a conversation with you, and I wish you every success, and hopefully maybe we can find a way to collaborate as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I enjoyed our talk very much, and I hope people watch this and come to Slovakia and enjoy our beautiful country as well.
Thank you. And that's Rado Rančík, 8-time Slovak National Player of the Year, storied career, started in the US, traveled all around Europe on Slovakia Untold. You have been listening to Zulf Hayek Khan on Slovakia Untold, a podcast brought to you in partnership with Slovakia Travel.